This past Saturday, I conducted a simple 3-choice survey on my Twitter to see what impression the Twitter followers had on the cause of Li Keqiang's death. I listed 3 options. The first was death from natural causes. It's just a heart attack. No conspiracy. The second option is death from unnatural causes, with an accident but no conspiracy. You can interpret this accident as an unexpected factor outside of any conspiracy. For example, he suddenly drowned while swimming or had a heart attack, but the health doctor was not around, the security guard was not around, resulting in no first aid, etc. You can understand it as any unexpected factors. The third option is that the person who died of unnatural causes was murdered. Within 24 hours, a total of 18,082 people voted. The result was that 16% thought option 1 died of natural causes, 16% thought option 2 died of unnatural causes. Accident but no conspiracy accounted for 19%, and the remaining 65%, nearly 2/3 of the voters believed that Li Keqiang was murdered. Of course, this is just a survey of online opinions. It is just the impression of some people on social media. It certainly does not represent the facts. But the opinion itself is also important. There are so many people who hold such an opinion. It is a fact in the communication sense. If so many people think that Li Keqiang was murdered, it will be a crisis of trust for those in power. If it is in an open and healthy interaction environment, an independent autopsy should be conducted on the deceased, and publish an independent report to the outside world to tell the world, to calm public opinion. But this will not happen in China. Then of course this kind of opinion, the opinion that Li Keqiang was murdered, will continue, and there will naturally be consequences. Of course, you can also say that you participated in the investigation I initiated on Twitter. This group of netizens is just a special group. Most of the people who witnessed it on Twitter are from the opposition. They are a specific sample. They must have sample bias. If you want to say so, I will admit it, but even if I think Li Keqiang, the number of people murdered is even less than half of what I surveyed on Twitter, accounting for only 1/3 of the total number of people. That is also a significant proportion, and it is enough to cause social unrest. This past weekend, there was a climax of mourning for Li Keqiang in China. There are 3 main places. The first is number 80 Hongxing Road, Hefei, Anhui, in front of Li Keqiang's former residence. The second key place of mourning is in Dingyuan County, Anhui, in front of Li Keqiang's ancestral house. The third location is Zhengzhou New District Central Park. The largest scale of mourning was held on Hongxing Road in Hefei City. Photos showed that the entire road was covered with mourning flowers. In addition, small-scale memorial activities also took place in Nanchang, Nanjing, Shenzhen, Xi'an, Kunming and other places, but not in Beijing. Tiananmen Square was particularly tense, and vehicles and people were not allowed to stay. A video circulated online showed that when the convoy transporting Li Keqiang's body passed the 4th Ring Road, all the vehicles present honked their horns to see Li Keqiang off. This was the largest mourning event in Beijing. But here, I also like netizens in Beijing to confirm, because the video and the sound of the whistle are very easy to synthesize during post-editing. So the question of whether Li Keqiang deserves to be mourned with so much emotion has become the most hotly debated issue on Twitter in the past 2 days. There are people at both ends of the spectrum. People on one side believe that Li Keqiang is a loyal successor to the reform and opening up line, and even call him the people's prime minister, a beloved prime minister, and a dedicated prime minister. People on the other side think that Li Keqiang is a vegetarian, doing nothing and achieving nothing. Of course, people at both ends of the spectrum are minorities. More people think that Li Keqiang has a certain humanity, a friendly style, and can occasionally tell the truth. This is very valuable within the system, especially in sharp contrast with Xi Jinping. To borrow a saying from Guo Degong's crosstalk, you just rely on your peers to support you, and you don't necessarily know how good you are. The more people mourned Li Keqiang, the more they used the topic to express their dissatisfaction with the status quo. For example, on Hongxing Road in Anhui, Someone wrote in the card of the bouquet of condolences that people are doing it. God is watching. The bastard will eventually get out. Democracy, freedom, rule of law, prosperity will eventually be realized. And someone else wrote in the card, the Yangtze River and the Yellow River, the water will not flow back. Long live democracy and freedom, and totalitarian dictatorship will surely be swept into the garbage heap of history. It seems that the so-called anti-poetry and reactionary elegiac couplets that appeared during the tomb sweeping day in Tiananmen Square in 1976 during the commemoration of Zhao Enlai were also reproduced on a small scale in the process of mourning Li Keqiang. So what do you think of Li Keqiang's life? This is not the focus of today, but I have to say a few words. If Li Keqiang has the warmth of humanity, his conscience is intact, and he cares about the people, but he is always suppressed by his superiors, it would be great if he could occasionally tell the truth, and he would be considered the light of the system. If you use this standard to ask a small section chief, I actually have no objection. A section chief can indeed suppress too many people in him, and it is difficult to do everything according to his own wishes. But what do you think of a CCP politician? This standard for the Standing Committee of the State Council and the Premier of the State Council seems to be a little low. In fact, not only did Li Keqiang not actually resist Xi Jinping, this is excusable in the eyes of many people, and it is a piece of history that no one can escape from. The limitation is that not only did he not actually resist Xi Jinping, Li Keqiang actually did not touch the bureaucracy, that is, he basically did not touch the lower levels. Then I don't know if this is because of necessity or historical limitations. Perhaps the only exception is that after the Zhengzhou flood in 2021, Zhu Li, secretary of the Zhengzhou Municipal Party Committee, was dismissed. The State Council formed an investigation team to hold Zhengzhou officials accountable. This was promoted by Li Keqiang. And this was also a spontaneous mourning by Zhengzhou citizens. Maybe it's because Li Keqiang has a larger number of people. That's how I understand it. When Zhengzhou was flooded, it was because of the flood discharge. In fact, there are many truths behind the scenes that we still don't understand, except for this matter, but for other events that are the focus of social attention. When the common people are looking forward to the blue sky coming and the clouds to clear and the sun to shine, Li Keqiang has not taken action. For example, the incident of the woman in chains in Feng County, Zhuzhou attracted 1.4 billion people's attention, but they could not save her. The black industry chain of human trafficking and human kidnapping revealed by women in chains has not been fundamentally touched until now. The sense of security of the majority of Chinese women has not been substantially improved because of the exposure of this incident. There is also a black network of grassroots officials involved in human trafficking, which has not been fundamentally touched. Originally, this was a good opportunity to comply with public opinion, but Li Keqiang did not take any action. He took the opportunity to rectify the officials and give the people a sense of security. Of course, there is more than one such thing, and you can attribute it all to his inability and historical limitations. However, we still hope that the person who has been highly praised by people can transcend the limitations of history, and history will finally judge Li Keqiang's merits and demerits. Time is a good thing. It filters out the emotional stuff and settles the facts. Now I don't want to get too involved in this debate, just raising a few questions. In fact, when many people argue about Li Keqiang, they are not arguing about him as a person, but are making use of the topic. Since everyone is free to play, what can be achieved? Can it produce some positive effects? Now is not the time to pour cold water on the situation too early. We can wait and see. Just like the Zhao Enlai mourned in Tiananmen Square on Tomb Sweeping Day in 1976, he was not actually the Zhao Enlai who actually existed as a historical figure. He was just the Zhao Enlai that the people thought of at that time. The Zhao Enlai who persisted in fighting against the Gang of Four. As for how complicated the relationship between Zhao Enlai, Jiang Qing, Wang Hongwen and others is, how much is struggle, how much is cooperation, and how much is condoning this historical truth? Let it be left to historians to restore, as well as the memory of Hu Yaobang mourned by young students in Tiananmen Square in 1989. Hu Yaobang is indeed much brighter than Zhao Enlai. The Cultural Revolution actually happened with Zhao Enlai's participation, and Hu Yaobang came to the spotlight of history because he presided over the unjust, false and wrong cases of the Cultural Revolution. But you must know that Hu Yaobang is not so bright in all aspects. He also has a bottom line when it comes to exposing party history. He does not advocate the disclosure of some historical archives of the CCP to create a subversive impression. So we return to reality. No matter what your purpose is in mourning Li Keqiang, there is only one situation that will trigger a large-scale popular movement similar to the 5th of April Tiananmen incident in 1976 and 1989, and that is to come those who lay flowers in condolences. After you put down the flowers and bowed, you do not leave, you stay where you are. Only if you stay in place for a long time can you have a square effect, attract more people to come and gather, and can you truly become a group in a social movement. If you put down the flowers and left, then things like 1976 and 1989 would not have happened. It is said that this is also the current model for the authorities to control the mourning scene. It is said that on Hongsing Road in Hefei, there are already people wearing blue vests. The so-called volunteers are maintaining order at the scene. They are controlling the people staying at the scene. After the people laying flowers in front are finished, they will urge you to leave quickly, and then letting people from behind enter the venue will not allow the masses to have time to stay at the scene, so large-scale gatherings will not occur. The next sensitive day should be this Friday. November 3rd is Li Keqiang's first 7 days. Maybe there will be a wave of mourning for Li Keqiang this weekend. It has not yet been determined when Li Keqiang's memorial service will be held. The rumor is that the central government requires everything to be simple and not to hold large-scale memorial activities. If the memorial service is before November 3, then the following weekend should be the last time allowed by the government for the people to mourn Li Keqiang. After that, the people memorials will also be silenced. So after this, will Li Keqiang's death be immediately forgotten, like nothing happened? Although it seems now that the effects of the large-scale mass movements that led to 1976 and 1989 will not occur, it is indeed impossible to say that Li Keqiang will be wiped out after his death. Li Keqiang is like a nail on the wall. As long as the nail is there, someone will always want to hang something on it. Even if someone dislikes the nail and pulls it out, he will still leave a mark on the wall. The next hole is visible to everyone. Li Keqiang's unexpected and sudden death is inevitable. If it triggers a profound crisis in China, directly speaking, it will definitely cause waves among high-level officials. Because of China's small circle court politics, every key figure, as long as he is alive, is a key link in this chain of suspicion. He all occupies a position of influence. If one of the links is suddenly interrupted, if it falls off, it will cause the entire chain to be locked. It will be tightened, and the remaining pressure distributed on each link will increase. In history, no two things will appear exactly in the same way, but this skeptical love will always play out in this way. For example, after Zhao Enlai's death in 1976, memorial activities took place in Tiananmen Square during the Qingming Festival, and anti-cultural revolution wreaths and elegiac couplets appeared. After the suppression on the 5th of April, the anti-Deng movement officially promoted by the CCP at that time, that is, the movement to criticize Deng Xiaoping, reached its peak climax. After the Cultural Revolution, as the study of party history deepened and more was revealed, people discovered that the complexity of the battle behind the Tiananmen movement far exceeded what most people understood when it first happened. It was by no means just Jiang Qing and other cultural revolutionists taking the opportunity to attack Deng Xiaoping. It was an event involving Mao Zedong, Hua Guofeng, Wang Dongjing, and even some other CCP elders. The inner circle of the CCP was involved in this incident. In fact, it was the climax of the conflict. Since Zhao Enlai's death in January 1976, it has been continuously pushed up. Zhao Enlai died on the 8th of January, the 15th of January, at Zhao Enlai's memorial service. Deng Xiaoping, as the first vice premier, delivered a eulogy speech. As soon as the memorial service was over, Deng Xiaoping was detained by the Central Security Bureau and put under house arrest. The person who carried out his arrest was 9 months later. The same man who arrested the Gang of Four was Wang Dongjing. He was carrying out Mao Zedong's instructions. Starting in February, big character posters supporting Zhao Enlai and Deng Xiaoping appeared in many places in China. Also in February, Deng Xiaoping resigned and Hua Guofeng was appointed acting prime minister. Hua Guofeng came to the front and was a conciliator candidate promoted by Mao Zedong. Mao Zedong wanted to place a buffer figure between Jiang Qing's cultural revolutionists, the loose pragmatists linked by Deng Xiaoping, and the military group represented by Li Keqiang. So he chose Hua Guofeng. However, what Hua Guofeng was doing at that time was to defend Mao Zedong's cultural revolution. Such a policy of the route. After Hua Guofeng took office in February, they began to publicly criticize Deng Xiaoping. On the 17th of February, the People's Daily published an editorial in which Jiang Qing named Deng Xiaoping as an unrepentant capitalist roader and launched nationwide criticism. The work of correcting the Cultural Revolution route that Deng Xiaoping had presided over since July 1975 was criticized. The movement was stopped, and all hope among the masses for the end of the Cultural Revolution was lost, and public opinion was severely affected. Under such circumstances, the opportunity to commemorate Zhao Enlai and the counter-cultural revolution actually appeared in Nanjing as early as March, and reached its peak in Beijing on the 4th of April and 5th. Feng reported that he believed that Deng Xiaoping was behind the plan. In fact, Deng Xiaoping had been under house arrest for more than 2 months and had no contact with the outside world, but he also believed that it was him. The political bureau of the Central Committee held an emergency meeting and believed that Deng Xiaoping was the mastermind behind the incident. Mao Zedong was already seriously ill at the time. However, when reviewing the report of the Politburo meeting that day, they also recognized this judgment. It is believed that Deng Xiaoping was planning to subvert the Cultural Revolution for a long time from 1975 to 1976, so it was he who organized the mass gatherings in Tiananmen Square in the name of mourning Zhao Enlai. Mao Zedong also affirmed the crackdown on Tiananmen Square on the 5th of April, so Deng Xiaoping was later overthrown and removed from all positions, except for his party membership. In fact, it was not just Jiang Qing's decision. It was a decision jointly made by Hua Guofeng, Mao Zedong and the cultural revolutionists. But as Deng Xiaoping was overthrown again and important players were eliminated, the relationship between the people in the small circle of power and the remaining people would change. Jiang Qing thought that before Mao Zedong died, his desire to seize power would become even more urgent. After finally defeating Deng Xiaoping, one obstacle was removed. Success seemed to be in sight. Should he step up his efforts? So her desire became even more urgent, and the conflict with Hua Guofeng, the successor trained by Mao Zedong, quickly became acute. Jiang Qing especially took advantage of it, which also made the remaining elders such as Yi Jianying and Li Xianyan feel intense uneasiness. So in this link chain, every time a link is missing, the pressure will be redistributed among the remaining links. So the further to the back, the greater the pressure each link will bear. Mao Zedong passed away on the 9th of September. The most important link in the entire chain was broken, causing the entire chain to disintegrate. In October, the Zhongnanhei Hua Irantang incident occurred, and Jiang Qing and others were arrested. It is said to be the Gang of Four, but to be precise it should be the Gang of Five, because among those arrested was Mao Zedong's nephew Mao Yuanxin, who was the last candidate of the Mao family who had any hope of succeeding to the throne. But the remaining few people couldn't play anymore. So at the 1977 Central Plenary Session, Deng Xiaoping came back, and the entire link chain had to be reforged and reorganized. In fact, he should be, since Zhao Enlai's Death in January 1976. Zhao Enlai's death itself was not an accident, but it is not important even if it is not an accident. After all, he occupies a key position of influence and is an important link in the chain of suspicion. Whether it is an accident or not, his death will trigger an uncontrollable chain reaction. As for Li Keqiang's death, if it was an accident, no matter whether he died naturally or unnaturally, there would be uncontrollable reactions. Maybe at a certain level, the CCP will explain the cause of his death and convey it to us at a certain level. We can wait and see if any news in this regard is revealed. No one can tell at what point the spillover effects of Li Keqiang's death will occur and in what way, but what is certain is that Li Keqiang occupies a key position of influence after all. His unexpected death will definitely cause great anxiety among the top leaders of the CCP, especially now that the top leaders of the CCP themselves are in turmoil. What is Li Shangfu's reason for? It is still unclear how the reasons for his removal will be explained at the central plenary session, and the issues of Li Shangfu and Qin Gang have not yet been finalized. Li Keqiang's sudden death in such a sensitive period will definitely greatly increase the insecurity of people in this small circle of power, causing great fluctuations and making everyone feel at risk. This effect is unavoidable, and in society it will also trigger a reaction. Death of Li Keqiang. It is a strong wind. Li Keqiang represents a different kind of governance. Thinking from Xi Jinping. At least it continues the line of Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao. Li Keqiang's unexpected death is this line in the eyes of many people, in a very extreme way. The unnatural way came to an abrupt end, regardless of whether he said it or not. After all, there is a large group of people who believe that Li Keqiang died abnormally. Then his death is a strong signal. If you want to kill the former prime minister, do you still have any hesitation about waiting for leaks? Do you still have any sympathy? Everyone will weigh it up. I'll repeat it again. What I'm talking about here is the actual impact of Li Keqiang's death, which is that many people view Li Keqiang's death this way. Regardless of whether there is a conspiracy or not, many people think there is a conspiracy. This is a fact. Then we will see another wave of capital flight. Li Keqiang is dead without knowing why, so you should run away. This place is really unsafe, so those who cannot escape will feel more at ease and lose the desire to enter again. The death of Li Keqiang will definitely have various spillover effects. What we have seen among the people in mourning, it is just a manifestation, which means that the overflow did happen, and that the uncontrollable process did start.